Hello everyone, and welcome to Sons and Daughters of Liberty. Today I wish to discuss the importance of preparing the mind and body. You know, as preppers, we always talk about everything else. Well, I've heard some get into the discussions about certain aspects of preparing the mind and body. It's actually very important for dealing just with everyday things as well. Mainly because we don't realize some of the stuff that we are, like coffee, caffeine, cigarettes. We only know the addictions to cigarettes. But caffeine is also a form of an addiction. A lot of people are hooked on caffeine, gotta have it. Can't function well without it. Well, if shit ever hit the fan, we would, our supply and access to coffee would eventually not be too accessible. It would be an everyday thing. We got to prepare our minds for those types of things. It's like people that smoke tobacco, and even the guys that are e-vaping. E-vaping is, there's statistics that say really says a little bit of everything on it. But most people that are that pick up the e-vape, it's replacing the cigarettes, the nicotine, the tobacco. And, a lot of people, slowly decrease the dosage of nicotine in the e-vape. So eventually you get to where there's no nicotine in the e-vape. But it's still a form of addiction. It becomes a habit. And, one of these days we're not going to be able to get access to that stuff if we find ourselves in a scenario where that happens. But there's other scenarios. We get hard up in hard times, can't afford those luxuries, because that's what they are. They're luxuries. And we don't realize some of the tolls it takes on our body. All addictions, there's a consequence to them, whether it be addictions to pills, pharmaceutical stuff. Your ibuprofen and aspirin will be very important. It's not something you're going to want to take for just a common headache. It's also important to take care of the body. I recommend everyone, just for general exercise, just walk a mile. Not run, not jog, just walk a mile each day or every other day. Or if you can't do it every other day, try to make it at least twice a week that you walk a mile. It helps you build up your endurance in case you gotta hike out and bug out. You know, the body, it's the easier, is the easier of the two to maintain and train and condition. You know, just working outside, doing gardening and other things, we're working our body. We're conditioning it. But we want to push some of those boundaries. You know, maybe once a year, once every month. I would recommend once every month. Go do a long hiking trail, you know, 15, 20-mile trail or a 2-day trail. You know, take a good vacation, in a sense. That way you're getting yourself used to having to do these things in case a situation ever arose. I mean, simple situation, your vehicle could break down, you can't get cell coverage, or you don't have your cell phone, you forgot it, and now you might have to walk 3 or 4 or 5 miles. You got to get conditioned, by walking a mile every day or every other day or twice a week or whatever you choose. Your body's conditioned for it. It's conditioned for the water intake or not having the water. You've already trained your body to endure certain elements that might pop up. I tell people, I'm not big on working out, but like I said, I prefer to eat healthy, and that's another form of taking care of your body. Eating healthy. Putting vitamins, like fruits, vegetables into your system. Trust me, it makes a difference. I mean, I went from 260 pounds to 170 in 6 months, and it was just eating healthy. And when I say eating healthy, guys, I mean, yeah, I cut back on a lot of the junk food. I was never a big junk food fan anyway. I cut back on a lot of pop. I started making sure with every meal that I was eating that had vegetables, I was making sure I at least had one piece of fruit every day. But I'm also a type of person, and this is not for everyone. I'm not a big 3-meal-a-day guy. I'm actually more content on 1 meal a day. I mean, granted, that 1 meal a day is kind of a big meal. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I was eating steaks almost 3 times a week. But I went from 260 pounds to 170 and more fitter than I ever was. And I played sports most of my life. Some form of sport. I was into cycling, BMX riding, mountain biking, which I want to get back into eventually. But as I got older, my metabolism rate dropped, and when I was used to eating heavy and being able to eat and not gain weight, I was like 28 before I went from 160 to 180. And I was 180 up to about 36. Once I hit 36, my metabolism slowed down, and that's when I started putting on the weight. It was a matter of a year and a half I put on all that weight, which really wasn't much, but it was uncomfortable for me. I wasn't used to that weight. So I was putting stress and strains on my body, which I had abused from playing sports and doing other things. Tore up ankles, tore up knees, shoulders, back, hands for fighting. I guess as you get older, you learn boy, I wish I wouldn't have done some of the things I did when I was younger. I would have just took a little bit better care of my body. like I said, there's things we can do to condition ourselves. And that I would recommend you guys, maybe as long as you're keeping your meals consistent with a balance with meat, protein, vegetables for your vitamins. I'd also recommend, because this is part of your mental training as well, cutting things back, maybe trying one meal a day for a couple days, no more than a couple, just to get yourself used to it in case the situation ever arose where you're in a situation where you've got to stretch and ration your food till you get to your next supply. It's a good way, a good means of training your body and training your mind to allow you to survive those extra few days where you need to get to your supplies and ration your supplies. As far as mental training, for me, a lot of the things are just out of sight, out of mind. It's out of sight. I don't need it. Don't bother me. Just like right now, I'm completely trying to quit smoking. Just because I know it's not a luxury. If something would ever happen, shit hits the fan, I'm not growing my own tobacco. And the fact is, I wouldn't be, I showed you the place, I've also explained how open it is. No, I'd be bugging out. I'm not bugging staying to bug in. Yeah, I might live out in the country, but this part of the country is too open. It's much harder to defend. We all have our own little addictions. Like me, I'm not a pill fan. Never have been. In fact, I hate taking pills. But there's people out there, they've gotten addicted to painkillers and stuff. These are addictions that when shit hits the fan, they're going to more likely be the death of you. And those are the realities that you have to wake up to. Just like the realities, there might be times where you're going to struggle for food. So you're going to want to train your body to get by on a minimum. Water will supplement a little bit. You can trick your stomach with water to make you feel full. But there's dangers to doing that as well. For real, peanut butter's a beautiful thing because it'll fill you up. But same way as oatmeal. There's foods out there that has the protein and sustenance that you need to stay healthy and keep your carbs up. That's another thing. They keep trying to teach our kids and people in diets that carbs are bad. Well, anybody that I've ever known that worked out, heavy workouts, they would pile on the carbs right before they'd go work out because you're going to burn all those carbs up. You're burning the sugars and stuff. Your body needs it too for the energy. Protein bars are high on protein, but they also have carbs. You want carbs in your diet. So if you've got a long trek, you're going to want to put carbs and ration your carbs each day. So it's a quick energy. So when you get towards the evening, that's when you would have your healthier rations, portions. And most people, they can't think past that. They think, we got to have this. Now, a lot of things that people are being taught these days, they're being taught because these are actually the sustenance that you need to survive with. Things that's going to give you the boost of energy you need. But they're telling you, it's not healthy for you. There's nothing healthy for you. But things that you're taking that are in moderation is good for you. Like I said, I was eating steak 3 times a week. Steak, baked potatoes, and vegetables. and we had to be throwing fish. You know, it's the way you cook things. You know, as long as you're having a portioned meal and it's healthy, the steak is healthy, it's got protein, you're living on a balanced diet. It is a balanced nutritional diet. I mean, what we were taught as kids, they don't teach that no more. I mean, what we were taught as kids is about, you know, the proper portions to a balanced diet. Your vegetables, your meats, your poultry, and fish. They don't teach that anymore. All that stuff that they taught us is now not healthy for you. Of course, now they rather have you on pills. An addiction. Things that dull your awareness, dull your senses. Where half of people's problems is they're not using their mind. They're not training their mind. They're not working their mind. Like I said, a lot of people can't do the out of sight, out of mind thing, or make a trigger. For me, a trigger is if I really wanted to quit smoking. I've done it in the past. I didn't smoke for several years. For me, anything that would make me sick or throw up, it's an instant trigger. I won't touch it. So I prepare my mind for that. I make trick my mind into thinking that's going to make me sick. And when I hit it, it will. It'll make me gag. It's a trigger. You've got to find ways to make triggers for yourself. And that allows you to, because that's basically you take the one thing that repulses you the most, and this is how they do with the hypnosis thing, this is how they do this as well. They find that thing that you're repulsor to, and they trigger that to what you want to quit, like tobacco. You know, alcohol probably is going to be quite more common than what most people think. But you also can't afford to be getting drunk. You know, it's good to relax, calm the nerves at the end of the day. So is coffee or tea. Except for, you know, coffees and teas, they're not going to be as common, because anybody can set up a stove and brew their own hooch, or shine, or whatever you want to call it. But you also have to remember, when we get in a shit hits the fan scenario, we don't want things that are going to dull our senses. It's going to make us dull and not be more aware to all of our surroundings. So that we've got to find ways to prepare our minds for these things. How do we get off these pills? How do we function normally? And there's people out there that don't have the mentality for that. You know, and the other thing is, when I speak of mental fortitude, mental stability, it's being able to recognize the flight or fight scenarios. It's being able to know how to survive and not feel guilt for some of the things. It's being able to have your mind to take that state that some morals that you have aren't going to have a place in this time of survival, where it's life or death. You have to be able to change your mind states. You have to attune yourself to a more primal survival mind state. That some people are natural, like mothers. Women are more, when it comes to children, that they have that motherly instinct that kicks in. It's a natural thing for them. And they'll do whatever they need to do to protect their children. As same way with most men. Most men, they've got that masculine part of protecting, to be the protector. The other thing that you're going to have to train your mind is overcoming your fears and phobias. Because your fears and phobias can cause flight or fight. I already did the other night, I guess today, like 2 o'clock, 1, 2, or 3 in the morning, I did a thing on fear. But it's important to prepare our minds. And some of the ways we prepare our minds is by running scenarios, thinking of scenarios. Okay, that's why when I get bigger followers, I'm going to start doing what would you do? It's more of a role play. We'll come up with a scenario, we'll put it to you guys. Ask you, what would you do? This happens. How are you going to react? Those are ways of training your mind. It's nothing real, it's just role playing. But out of that role playing, you're thinking, it's making you think on your feet. It's making you realize, well, I don't think I could do that. Then you'll start questioning, okay, how can I find a way that I can do this that won't affect my mental state, to where I can change that mindset so I can do it, overcome that phobia and fear. And some people might not even know that there's that phobia or fear because they haven't experienced that. You know? Like I said, I'm more solitary, but I also know my limits. Yes, I have some first aid training, CPR, and brainer stuff. But at some point, something might happen where I can't deal with it. I have to seek someone that has the knowledge to do that. You know? And there's a reason why I brought up the morality thing. We may find ourselves in situations where we're going to have to turn people away. Because I do agree with some of my friends on this. There'll be certain, especially the ones that more in the community type, believe in a community setting. You can't be taking people in. Because you're only as strong as your weakest links. Just like as an individual, if you're solitary, you're only as strong as your weaknesses. You've got to find ways to compensate those weaknesses. So if you're in a community type setting and you start getting people coming in, what skills do they have? And this is where it's going to mess with people mentally because, people do care about people. They don't want to see people suffer. But at the same time, when you start letting people in that don't have skills that can provide for the community, that person is now taking up space, getting into your, that's another mouth that you have to feed that's not giving back to the community. You're going to have to make mental decisions whether to kick somebody out of the community because they were stealing you or whatever. You've got to, that's why I said, what would you do is going to be a great series. I just want more people involved before we do that. That's going to help make you think outside the box. And that's the other thing. You want to start preparing your mind, start thinking outside the box, conversating with people you would never conversate with. See what new ideas come up with, new theories, It's easy to sit back and judge somebody because what they do, but they have some experiences that you don't, that you may need down the road. Not everybody is a hunter. That's just fact. There might be some people out there who's never going to be able to learn to hunt and pull the trigger and kill a game. Well, maybe you can set traps and trap. You got to be able to think outside the box. because in the end, you've got to train your mind to be able to do these things that you wouldn't normally do. And if we look at society today, especially these younger generations, I'm not going to use the technical term that we want to call them here of late, most of them, they don't have the mental capability, the mental fortitude, the mental strength to survive in a shit hits the fan scenario of any kind. They're more to take fright over fight in just a normal scenario of a car accident. They're not going to know what to do. They're going to lose their head. Because, well, first thing they're going to do, we dial 911 on my cell phone. Well, guess what? Cell phone don't work anymore. They'll become completely clueless, paranoia sets in. Now you got to deal with this person and at the same time deal with them. And most of you can think how the situation probably won't end up for that person. Well, some people watch that more. Well, there's no, in a shit hits the fan scenario when someone of life's at stake, hey, I'm just going to knock him out so I can tend to this person and not have to deal with this. And others might take it a step farther. It's the realization that the things that we've been programmed to believe, that's got to be thrown out the window at some point, because what they've taught our generation, past these new generations, the younger generations, is how to become victims, how to basically be lambs before the slaughter. That's what they'll be. They're so addicted to tech that they don't know any old skills. They don't know how to start a fire using a bow or flint and steel. They don't have a lighter. They're clueless. When truthfully they could take their cell phone apart, take the battery, and take two pieces of metal and go. I don't know if you could. I'll have to try that on my old cell phone battery. We'll just use a flashlight. Take the batteries out of it. Put a piece of metal on the two negative ends, and take two pieces of metal. You just take the razor apart. And there's all the pieces you need. Get two blades. Cut the one blade in half. Cut two points so it's prongs. And you stick the long one at the bottom, and you take the top two, touch them. The thing will glow hot. You can start a fire with that. But most people don't know that. Most people wouldn't think of that. That's why it's important to train our mind. Train our mind to think outside the box. Because it's our mind that's going to have this, it's our mind that's going to basically decide if we live and survive or we just cease to exist, because our mind can't adapt to that much of a change. Because in the reality is, something like this happens, it's going to be a shock. Even to the people that are prepared for it, that claim to be preppers. Something like this on a large scale where shit would hit the fan, forcing you to bug out, it's going to be a shock. It's going to take a second for reality to set in. You might be bugging out, getting into your place, your safe place, your shelter. It might not set in right away, but it's eventually going to set in. We have to prepare our minds for these things. And we do that by talking about it, discussing, coming up with scenarios, learning old skills, researching things, finding, like for our addictions, finding triggers and stuff. repulsive for them. Or, let me tell you the truth about tobacco. Something I don't tell you. For all those that actually want to quit. It's all mental after 3 days. It depends on the environment, how active you are. I mean, you're going to sweat out the nicotine in 30 days. You're still going to have nicotine in your pores and stuff. You're going to sweat it out. That's why a lot of smokers that wear white, they don't keep their shirts. Yeah, they might say, oh, it's iron in the water. No, that's you sweating the nicotine out of your pores. But it only takes 3 days to actually get over the addiction part. The rest is mental. After 3 days, you don't crave. The craving's actually gone after 3 days. Yeah, once you make it past 3 days, the addiction part is actually gone. Then you got to deal with the mental part. That's why a lot of smokers that have quit, they end up with other habits like Jolly Ranchers or suckers. I bet my old band teacher used to, the other time you see him with a sucker in his mouth. One day he caught us in the back of the band room smoking cigarettes. And he finally told the story why we always see him with suckers. And, it's like for me, I used to use cinnamon Jolly Ranchers. They work, fire Jolly Ranchers, they actually work quite well. Like I said, it's all about training your mind. A lot of the stuff, in the end, is mental. But for us smokers, there is a physical aspect. We're going to have to start re-exerting ourselves, building our wind back up. So people don't realize the damage that the smoking actually causes to our lungs and breathing. For me, I find when I had quit before, going swimming and swimming, underwater swimming, it helps you build your breath. Cycling, jogging, running, it helps you build your cardio. It helps you increase your windage. And for smokers, that's something we have to do. We got to retrain our bodies. That's why I've been doing more and more strenuous activities of late. Because I've slowly cut back and trying to build my wind back up to the point where I want to get back to where I can start working out martial arts again. Hitting the bags, speed bags, heavy bags. Because that is actually a real good workout. Because you're doing, not only are you doing cardio, not only are you working every muscle in your body, you're also working your wind, you're controlling your breathing. Meditation works for controlling breathing as well. It relaxes the body. In a lot of cases, most people use these addictions as a form of a relief from stress. Something to, calm them, where you can find other substitutes for them. And, for those that don't want to quit, well, my suggestion for that is, if you smoke tobacco, start growing your own tobacco. And if you do quit, well, you've got this tobacco built up, stored up, that becomes a bartering property. So you've got actually currency and shit hits the fan, something to trade for, extra supplies that you need that you didn't have or that you run low on. Just like coffee. I love my coffee, but it's not an addiction for me. I can go without. I don't have to have a morning cup of coffee to function. I don't have to have an evening cup of coffee to function because it is mental. I realized a lot of that a long time ago. Just like I can drink a cup of coffee before I go to bed and sleep soundly. That doesn't keep me awake. Which kind of defeats the purpose for coffee, doesn't it? When you realize you can actually, it's all a mental game. And a lot of our addictions are a mental game. It's just important to find these things, find our weaknesses, whatever they are. Find ways to make those weaknesses into our strengths. Basically, it becomes a mental game. Physical weaknesses. Okay, how can I overcome that? Or how can I improve it so it's not a weakness? I can use it to my advantage or strength. Or I just know that I can't cover 30 miles a day. I'm going to have to be content with 10 or 15 or 20. That's just my physical limitation. I know that. I understand that. So it's not a weakness. I just plan ahead for it. It's going to take me that much longer to get from point A to point B. I understand that, so I will prepare accordingly. Just like I said, there's going to be scenarios come up that's going to breach our moralities, our ideologies. And there's going to be people out there that will not be able to bend to that. And that's going to be a weakness for them. They're going to have to find a way to make it their strength. And for those people, I would suggest, have skills, build a community, find people that your weakness are their strengths. That covers your weaknesses. And you'll learn from them, and eventually those weaknesses of yours will not be weaknesses anymore. Like I said, when it comes to shit hits the fan or any type of preparedness, prepping, this is the main thing we have to realize, is that we have to prepare our minds and bodies. Those are the most important things at first, because we've got to be mentally sound to face ever-changing scenarios, ever-changing environments. It's like knowing if I'm bugging out to higher elevations, once I start getting to the elevation change, I instantly start to have to hydrate more. It takes more hydrate. You got to putting more water in your system because you become dehydrated quicker as you go into higher elevations. Which means I'm going to be burning more energy, more carbs. So I'm going to have to increase my carb intake. So from point A to point B, I know that I'm going to want to cut my carbs and ration in my carbs because I'm going to need a higher carb intake from point C to point D. Same way with water. I'm going to need more water intake. So, from point A to point B, I might only be drinking one canteen or one bottle, whatever you're using for water, or, the Camel packs. I'm only going to be going through one of them where when I start hitting the higher elevations, I'm going to want to be going 2 to 2.5. So I already got the extra canteen prepared. And when I get to that point, I'm going to start filling up, making sure I have the 2 canteens, 2 bottles full of water. You don't want more than 2, trust me. When you start getting higher elevations, you dehydrate quick, and you don't realize it. When you start going from hot to cold, or from hot to hotter temperatures, these are things you can mentally prepare for. And there's also things as you're mentally prepared for, you can start training your body to adapt, to either go with less, or condition it so it can handle less, and you're still functioning. Our bodies are wonderful. thing. It can be trained to do many things and adapt to many things. But a lot of that's because we learned to use our mind as in a sense, our mind is our weapon, because it allows once we convince our mind of it, it convinces our body of it. You know? And like I said, there's some people out there that this might not, they just can't do that. And, the reality of that is they're probably not going to survive long unless they find some communities to take them in or some people to take them in. But these are also the ones that are more likely to be calm, throw morality out the window. They're the ones that are more likely to become the marauders, the raiders. They're going to group up with other thieves and people that would, because in a sense, they're looking at these people as their protectors. Okay, these people, it's easier way of life. Because they don't know any better. They don't know how to strike their minds. And there's going to be people out there that's going to prey on these people. That's the other situation. There's going to be people out there that was going to specifically look for these types of people. They're easy prey, easy victims. That's something I think a lot of people don't realize. In a shit hits the fan scenario, I'd say about 65 to 70% of your ideas, beliefs, and morals are going to be put to the test. And you're going to find that some of those morals and ideas are going to have to be let go to survive. That's the biggest reality check that they're going to realize. And some people aren't dealing with it mentally and can't deal with that. Why? Because they haven't trained their minds to be able to change from mindset to mindset, from situation to situation, because every situation is different. Just like some preppers say, I'm prepared for everything. You can't. There's no such thing as being prepared for anything. I'm prepared enough that whatever situation comes up, I can adapt to it. That's the important part, being able to adapt to each new situation that's going to be ever-changing. And it only happens by strengthening your mind, thinking outside the box. Like for me, there's going to be times where I might venture to a bug out spot and be more a part of a community, but there's going to be times I'm going to be one away from that community because that's not my setting. I want to be out. Away from everything, watching, overseeing, or it depends on the situation. I want to be the one on the front line. That's just my mentality. I don't want to be. And there might be some times where I don't want to be near anything. I want the solitude and isolation, the shelter. But that's not for everyone. And like I said, situations are going to dictate. Like when you start letting people in, word eventually spreads. And people are going to, okay, this group of people lets people in. Eventually you're going to start ending up with food storage problems. You're going to start running low because you have more mouths to feed. Water supply. If you don't got natural wells or natural springs, you're going to have issues with water. Especially, like here in Ohio right now. We need rain. We haven't had rain in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I mean, like I said, we went through all of our water barrels already. So we're down to our well water. If we're lucky, we have well water. So, we can still keep watering our gardens and garden beds and stuff that we've got set up. So at least we have a backup. And that's the other thing, having a backup and a backup to your backup. you don't know what's going to happen. I watched this video today. I can't remember the title. This guy changed the channel. The end is here. I think it was what it was. But I mean, what he said was true. I mean, they've been saying it's the end of days for centuries. Every millennium they say it. Every century they say it. Every 5, 10 years they say it. Every major event that pops up, oh, it's the end of days. Then he went on to point it out, and he used Iran for instance. He went clear back to, I think, like late 90s. Oh, Iran's going to have a nuclear weapon. 4 years later, Iran's going to have a nuclear weapon in 4 years. It was 10 years later, Iran's going to have a nuclear weapon. They just change the tone. Different people, different government. Our governments change it. That's for real. They keep saying it, but has it happened? No. But there's always that probability. It's like he said, we never know when one of these super volcanoes are going to go up. It might happen. The probability of it happening is slim to none in our lifetime. These things take millennia to happen. Some may never go up again. But at least being aware that you're around that area, you know what to do. It's good to at least have a plan. And you hope and pray that plan never has to be implemented. We can plan for things. We can plan for things till we're blue in the face, but that's not going to stop us walking across the road to get our mail. And we just happen not to look, or we didn't happen to see that car that just turned the corner, came out of nowhere speeding, and it's over. That's more likelihood of end of day scenarios. But we're also living in some really dangerous, turbulent times right now, where a shit hits the fan scenario it's went from, a minor probability to its potential. The ingredients are there. Will it happen? Can't say. But I tell you what, at least I want to be a little prepared. I want to have essentials, in case it does happen. I got to bug out. I don't want to be running around like a chicken with my head cut off, wasting time trying to hunt down stuff. I want it ready to go just in case it does happen. And I hope it never does. But at least I'm prepared. I'm mentally prepared. I know where I got to go. I know how I'm going to get there. I've got more than one route, more than one way. I know that, hey, depending on the scenario, I might be able to drive most of my way there before, things get too chaotic. Why? Because I'm a back roads guy. I prefer back roads. And I know all my back roads. I've mapped them, driven most of them. I don't get lost. It's a misconception. As people misunderstood. How'd you miss your turn and end up? I was like, I got here, didn't I? Apparently, I must have needed to know that route. Because I still took all these back roads and ended up, hey, I didn't know this way existed to get to here. Nice to know. Because this way is kind of more country roads. Maybe a situation where I can't travel that main highway, so now I know a back way in that I didn't know about. Just like that how your roads run, how your odd and even numbers are. Your odd numbers run north and south. Your even numbers run east and west. It's like that in every state. You can never get lost. Every back road eventually will lead to a main road, unless it leads to a dead end. And even if it leads to a dead end, just keep going. Eventually, go through the woods, to grandma's house we go. Eventually, we'll end up finding a main highway so we can re-navigate. It's like, okay, this is running east and west, but we already know that because we know how to study our stars, study how moss grows on trees, where the sun sets. You can tell your time by your hand in the evening how much daylight you have left. The whole bushcraft skill. But here's my thing. Here's the other thing. Guys, we have tech. We have YouTube. Use it. There's all kinds of bushcraft videos on there. There's all kinds of prepping channels, survival channels. So educating yourself with some of this stuff you don't know. There's just some good people out there. I'm going to start, I think I've got, eventually I'm going to start building my featured channel list of people I watch, would recommend. Right now, the Prepared Mind's one of them. He brings about, shit hits the fan scenarios, how to be prepared. Basically, how to prepare your mind. But like I said, not only our minds do we have to prepare, we still have to condition our bodies. We still got to train our bodies to go longer periods of time without sleep. For me, there's another misconception. You don't need 8 hours of sleep, guys. Your body will function perfectly on 4 hours sleep. 8 hours is a luxury. Start training yourself for that. Only, like I said, you only need to do it a couple times a week. Once a week, every week, for a month. Your body will get into a cycle and be used to it. So when you're put in a situation, a scenario, where it's required that you're going to need less sleep, you'll adapt. For me, depending on location, where I'm going, you might want to not travel during the day and travel at night when it's cooler. But also know there's a lot more predators that come out at night as far as wildlife goes. It's about knowing your terrains and your environments that you're going to be going through. If it would be more ideal to travel at night as opposed to day. But if you're dealing with 90 plus degrees heat and humidity, it would be better to travel at night and find concealable shelter during the day that's shaded and, rest during the day. That way you're not overexerting yourself, overexerting your body. These are the things only you can figure out. These are the only things you know. Everyone's body's different. Everybody's limits are different. What are your pain? Know your pain thresholds. Because you might have to endure with pain. You might twist an ankle. Or you might have to reset a broken bone. You're going to have to do it. And you have nobody else to do it. You're going to have to do it yourself. You're going to have to go to endure that pain. What is your limit? Because you don't want to set a bone and pass out. Because then you're vulnerable. Like I said, these are things that you have to think about. By thinking about it, you're preparing your mind. You're opening your mind and understanding your limits. But let me tell you something about limits and boundaries. It is good to push those limits and boundaries. Because that's a form of conditioning. The more you push, don't step over, push. Let me rephrase. Nudge. Keep nudging them. Eventually you're going to hit a limit, guys. That's just natural. You're not Superman. And there might be occasions where, hey, you might have kicked some of those addictions, but now you have that stuff to where it can be used in situations that may need that, call for that. because by then you've already trained your mind that it is an addiction. So now you can actually use it for what it is intended to be used for. I mean, like I said, the easiest thing is conditioning the body. I mean, you can do that through exercise, for various meditations, and some of just the minor things I've discussed. I mean, if you really want a good upper body workout, well, actually it's a whole body workout, trust me, go grab an axe and cut down, if you got some dead trees, cut some trees, cut some wood with an axe. You're doing cardio, you're working your muscles, and like I said, remember, some of the things they taught us that they say is bad for us is actually good for us. We need carbs in situations. We need meat, protein. We need fish. Fish is probably going to be one of the easier games for people to get. Like I said, know your limits. Know what you can and can't do. Also know that there is such a thing as flight and fright. I got that wrong too. Fight and fright. Or fight and flight, whatever. Oh, you guys know what I'm saying. But these are the things you guys should think about. And like I said, once I get a bigger audience going, we will do. What would you do? We'll come up, a couple of my friends will sit down, come up with some scenarios, and we'll do a live stream, and we'll interact. We'll give you the scenarios, and we'll role play them out, and we'll change them up, hit you with new ideas and things, and make you think on your feet. That is preparing the mind. That is strengthening your mind, and it's testing your limits. Because you might not realize some things that can come up. It allows you to think on your feet, which is the most important thing. Be able to think fast and react fast. But I thought I wanted to do something a little bit different than what I've been doing. Because this is going to be some of the stuff that I will be doing. Topics like this and other topics. So let me know what you think. If you like the stream, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. That helps support the channel. And definitely, if you really like it, and you know your friends that would be interested, share it with them. Because like I said, as you guys see, I've done videos on how to make a homemade portable sawmill, which is almost finished. I've got to sharpen a chain, and I'm making a couple more just minor design changes on it to where it'll be perfect for the use I want. And I'll show the final video, record the final video either tomorrow or Friday, depending on weather. But we're finished. Like I said, that project should be finished tomorrow, hopefully. Then I'll be on to working on something else, because I'll be milling some wood up so we can actually build some things and make things. And I'll be busting out some of the old tools and teaching how to use them for situations where we don't have electricity. We don't want to burn up our solar reserve or our wind generator reserve, because you can only use so much. You've got to see. It goes back to knowing your limit, how much resources you need to survive. Running a power drill is definitely going to put you in danger of having your freezer or refrigerator, whatever you're using to keep your meat cold and stored, or your water pump running. So, it goes back to needs and wants. Your needs, you got to come before your wants, and if you're building something, you don't want to screw with your needs when you can use older tools. Yes, it might be faster to use power tools, but Goes back to what my friend said. Well, you turn a generator on, the generator's loud. Somebody's going to hear it. It's going to draw attention. You got electricity. You got power. Which makes you a target. Food for thought. But I'm going to wrap this up. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to comment. I will answer them, or one of my friends will come by and answer. And definitely, if you enjoy these, definitely share these. Definitely subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. Who knows what video it will be. Like I said, I haven't got a schedule down for any of this. It's just whenever I do it as I can. And today has been a bad day with the internet, so that's why I'm actually recording this, because this program I can do everything with no internet. And I will see you guys next time. Remember, we the people, for the people.